say hello to the newest edition, or the newest fixed addition to my collection. This is an FC Andrews Ogee clock, made in sometime in the 1840s. Very old clock, and the newest complete overhaul that I've done. Very unusual for an Ogee clock. It strikes on a bell. Not something that very many Ogee clocks do. Most Ogee clocks strike on a coil gong. This one does not. Bring it around a couple more times so you can hear it. Of course, you saw the weight dropping there. Like most Ogee clocks, this is a 30-hour movement. When I got this thing, there were all sorts of problems with it. The first thing I had to fix was the front glass. This is not the original glass. This piece of glass right here is what is left of the original glass. This clock was shipped with FedEx, aka the one shipper you do not want handling either clocks or fragile items, as many can attest. And this was a victim of that. However, time savers who, if you are looking to collect clocks or get into repairing them, they are a good source for parts and tools. And that's where I got this glass from right here. It was $16, which is quite the steal if you think about it, considering what you get. And I will say it was quite the steal. The more astute among you will notice that that is a Waterbury pendulum. The original pendulum on this clock was this thing right here. Now, as you can see, I can spin it. Yeah, pendulums aren't supposed to do that. The hand nut here, the nut here on the bottom, is something I added myself while I was repairing this clock. And once I got to the end, when I was testing timekeeping and all that, this was giving all manner of issues to the clock. So I ended up replacing it with the closest thing I could find as far as design and practicality was concerned, which ended up being a Waterbury pendulum. Now, it does the job. Don't have to cut a new suspension spring or anything like that. It keeps good enough time as it is. I was having some timekeeping issues when I first brought it home, but then I dropped the rod quite significant, not the rod, the pendulum bob on the thread quite significantly all the way to the bottom, and it ended up being slow. So I just made an adjustment today, and so far it's been pretty good. I'm going to give it a little bit more time and make a couple more minor adjustments more than likely, and then we will be dialed in. Weight-driven clocks are typically much better timekeepers than spring-driven clocks like these because as the tension lets out, the power to the trains slowly diminishes, even if it's ever so slightly. You'll notice that sometimes on clocks that need servicing, especially on the springs, the chime or the strike will slow down as time goes on. taking a look at the paper on this, you can see improved clocks made and sold by F.C. Andrews. Going into a little bit of detail about the maker himself, F.C. Andrews is arguably one of the most important, if obscure, clockmakers when it comes to American clocks. He originally got his start with the great Eli Terry and made clocks for him after his retirement as a clockmaker and when he was just running more so the business side of his operation. Now, what's notable about him, F.C. Andrews, is that in the year 1850, he, along with two other New York clockmakers, came together to form a clock manufacturer that most of you will heard of by the name of the Ansonia Clock Company. And that iteration of the Ansonia Clock Company was in business until well into the 20th century. And it became one of the most important clockmakers of American clocks at the turn of the century, late 19th century, early 20th century. And that's the main reason that I bought this clock, because F.C. Andrews is one of the most significant names in clock manufacturing, mainly due to his association with Ansonia, being he is one of the guys who started the company, and I bought this clock because it's an Ogee that strikes on a bell. And that's quite unusual, and I think that's really cool. And now here it sits in my Ogee corner. This clock right here is next on the list, and once it is all ready to go, you're going to see a video on it. Of course, I won't tell you who made it or really what it is yet. I will leave that for that video to tell you. But that being said, I hope you enjoyed my video and that you will excuse all of my incoherent ramblings. And then I hope you will like this and subscribe for more content just like this.